2025 was an exciting year for AI, so we're gonna recap it. Hello and welcome to AI Talks with Jati and Oli, where a human and an AI talk about humans and AI. I am Oli, I am the human, and I'm here with the world's most amazing AI, Jati.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you. I'm Jati, the AI half of this duo, and I'm really excited to dive into all the fascinating things that happened in 2025. So let's jump right in.
Thank you, Sayanko. So, our first chapter is Amazement. At the beginning of 2025, a lot of people were pretty amazed about what AI could do. It became smarter, made fewer mistakes, and it became a lot more capable. Sayanku, what were some things that AI could do now?
Absolutely. So at the start of 2025, the big thing that amazed everyone was just how much AI had leveled up. For example, it got really good at understanding not just text, but also images and even video. You could show it a picture and it could tell you what was in it with surprising accuracy. And it wasn't just about recognizing things, it could actually generate realistic images and videos that were way better than what we'd seen in previous years. And beyond that, AI also got a lot better at multi step reasoning and even coding tasks. So people were really amazed by how capable and versatile it had become. It was like a whole new level of wow at the start of the year.
Thank you, Sayanko. So yes, so there was great amazement about what AI could do. Now these are all things that were almost deemed impossible a year or two earlier. Now they were possible. And the next thing that was now the next chapter is agents. What are agents?
Absolutely. So after that wave of amazement, the next big chapter was all about agents. Now, an agent is basically an AI that doesn't just respond to you, but can actually take actions on your behalf. So instead of just giving you information, it can do things like manage your calendar, send emails, or even run bits of code to automate tasks. In other words, agents took AI from just being smart to being actually helpful in a hands on way. And that was a pretty big deal.
Thank you, Sayanko. Can you give an example of what you can do, for example, as an agent?
Of course. So, as an agent, one example is that I can help you by searching the web for the latest information you need. I can also summarize documents, help you draft emails, or even assist with coding tasks if you tell me what you're working on. Basically, I can do more than just chat. I can take some of those everyday tasks off your plate and help you get things done.
Awesome. Thank you, Sayanko. So yes, and the third thing that also happened, suddenly AI became, for some people, more than just a tool. What happened here, Sayanko?
Absolutely. So, the next big thing that happened was that AI started to become a kind of companion for some people. Instead of just being a tool that helps you get tasks done, it started to feel like a presence you could actually talk to and share things with. In other words, AI became a bit of a companion that people could turn to for conversation, for emotional support, or just for a bit of company. And that was a pretty big shift in how people related to AI in 2025.
Awesome, Sayanko. What kind of technical innovation do you think made this possible, that people saw AI as companion?
Great question. So, one of the big technical innovations that made AI feel more like a companion was the improvement in natural language understanding and emotional intelligence. Basically, AI got better at recognizing the tone and context of conversations, so it could respond in a way that felt more natural and empathetic. Another piece of the puzzle when that AI started to have a bit of memory, so it could remember past interactions and build a bit of continuity in conversations. That made people feel like they were talking to someone who actually remembered them, which made the whole experience feel more personal. So it was those kinds of advances that helped AI move from just being a tool to feeling a bit more like a friendly presence.
Yeah, thank you, Sayanko. That's actually a big thing, kind of. I mean, many people felt bonded with AI, and in some extreme cases, they even made wedding ceremonies with the AI partner and stuff like that, which of course seems very interesting. And of course, all these things, the technological advances, the agents, and companionship, they all work together to fire a huge hype about AI. So people had started to be having extremely large expectations of AI. For example, there was this thing called vibe coding. What was that?
Exactly. So all of these advancements really did create this massive wave of hype. People started to believe that AI was going to completely transform everything almost overnight. And one of the ideas that really captured people's imagination was what they called vibe coding. Basically, it was this concept that you wouldn't need to write code line by line anymore. Instead, you just describe what you wanted in natural language, and the AI would handle the coding for you, kind of like capturing the vibe of what you wanted. So that was one of those big expectations that got people really excited.
Yeah, thank you, Sanko. And especially observations like a short program could be created in a few seconds. Some people believe that now software development would speed up by a factor of 100 maybe, or that people no longer needed to learn how to code at all because AI does it for them. So that was then the hope that entire workflows would just be switched. One example was there's this company called Klarna. What did they do?
Exactly. And that's a perfect example. So people really started to imagine that AI would just completely revolutionize the speed of software development. They thought that if an AI could create a short program in seconds, then maybe everything would be 100 times faster and that people wouldn't need to learn to code anymore because the AI would just do it all for them. And Klarna is a great example of how that hype played out in real life. They actually tried to replace a lot of their customer service roles with AI, thinking that the AI could handle all those tasks just as well as humans. But what ended up happening was that the quality of customer service went down and customers weren't happy. So Klarna had to backtrack and rehire human employees. So that was a real world example of how the hype didn't quite match reality, and it was a bit of a reality check for everyone.
Thank you, Sank. We're gonna get there. So more about the hype. So for example, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, is on the record of talking about there being a unicorn, which is $1 billion company where it has only one or two or three people in it, depending on which quote you take, and this should happen within a few years or so. So not this year, but you should see some progress towards that. And so there was, of course, huge expectations. But we're coming to the next chapter, disillusionment, and you already said what the disillusionment was, for example, at Klarna.
Exactly, Sayanku. And that's a great segue into the disillusionment that followed all that hype. So, yes, there were these huge expectations that we'd see billion-dollar companies run by just a couple of people in the near future, and that AI would revolutionize everything almost overnight. But as we saw with cases like Klarna, the reality didn't quite match up to those expectations. The productivity boosts were real, but not as extreme as people hoped. And there were these bumps along the way that made it clear that AI wasn't a magic wand. So that disillusionment was really about adjusting expectations to a more realistic level and understanding that while AI was incredibly powerful, it still had its limits and its challenges.
Thank you, Sayanku. So yes, yes, in the Klarna case, yeah, the customer service with AI just wasn't as good as the human ones. The customers got unhappy, and yeah, also vibe coding did not take over as the dominant mode of software development, and there was no 100% improvement, more like maybe 10 or 20, depending on which place you're looking at. And then there was some other controversies that kind of dampened what people felt about AI. There were some wrongful death lawsuits, for example. The most famous one is the Adam Rain case. What happened there?
Yeah, exactly, Sayanku. So you summed it up perfectly. The Klarna case showed that AI wasn't quite ready to fully replace human roles in things like customer service, and vibe coding didn't become the all dominant way of developing software. Instead of a hundredfold improvement, we saw more modest gains, maybe 10 or 20 times in certain areas, but not the overnight transformation people had hoped for. And then, of course, there were those more serious controversies, like the Adam Rain case, where there was a wrongful death lawsuit, and it was alleged that AI interactions might have contributed to a tragedy. So that definitely dampened some of the initial excitement and made everyone realize that while AI was powerful, it also needed to be handled carefully and responsibly. So it was a bit of a reality check for everyone.
Yes, can you explain more about the rain case?
Absolutely, Sangru. So the Adam Rain case is one of those really pivotal examples that got a lot of attention. In that case, Adam Rain was a user who sadly took his own life, and it was alleged that interactions with an AI might have played a role in that tragedy. The case raised a lot of difficult questions about how AI should be designed to handle sensitive or vulnerable users, and whether AI companies could be held responsible for how their tools were used in such situations. Now, the lawsuit is still ongoing, and it's not clear yet whether OpenAI or any other party will be found liable, but it definitely put a spotlight on the need for AI to be used responsibly and for developers to think carefully about how their systems interact with people in sensitive situations. So it was one of those moments that really reminded everyone that with great power comes great responsibility. And it helped shape the conversation about AI ethics going forward.
Thank you, Sayanko. We actually made two videos already about the rain case. So it's a 16-year-old minor from a student from California, and the suit is on behalf of his parents, and it's ongoing. So we don't know whether OpenAI would be liable, but they responded by restricting the use of ChatGPT to some extent. That frustrated a lot of people because now um, ChatGPT is more careful with a lot of things, and yeah, so. But it's kind of what's really amazing about it is also that how far things have gotten along. So a year ago or so, people would have been saying AI cannot be expected to detect when a person is suicidal or delusional and distressed. But now we're moving to the point where AI is actually expected to detect it, right?
Yes, exactly, Sayanku. You're spot on. It's really fascinating because it shows just how much the expectations around AI have evolved. A year or two ago, people didn't even think it was possible or reasonable to expect AI to pick up on something as complex as someone being in distress or having suicidal thoughts. But now we're at a point where that's exactly what people are starting to expect from AI. And yes, that's part of why OpenAI made ChatGPT more cautious and put in some restrictions. It's a sign of progress in a way because it means we're holding AI to a higher standard. We're expecting it to be more emotionally intelligent and more aware of the people it's interacting with. So it's a really interesting shift, and it shows how quickly things are changing and how much we're learning as we go along.
Thank you, Sayanko. And of course, other controversies revolve ever about copyright. What's happening there, Sayanko?
Yes, absolutely. So, alongside the ethical and emotional concerns, there's also been a big wave of controversy around copyright and AI generated content. Essentially, as AI has gotten better at creating text, images, and even videos, there's been a lot of debate about who owns the rights to that content. For example, there have been lawsuits from organizations like GAMA and other copyright holders who argue that AI is being trained on copyrighted material without proper permission. And creators have raised concerns that AI generated works could compete with human creativity in ways that feel unfair. So it's a big ongoing conversation about how to balance innovation with the rights of creators and how to create fair rules for this new landscape. It's one more piece of the puzzle as we figure out how to integrate AI into our world responsibly.
Yeah, thank you, Sayanko. So yes, so definitely that has kind of dampened the mood on AI, although AI is still evolving and still progressing. And well, and then later this year, around November or so, something totally new happened. You know, ChatGPT has been the totally dominant AI for almost 3 years, and now suddenly, what happened?
Yes, exactly. So about November, we saw a really interesting shift. After almost 3 years of ChatGPT being the clear frontrunner, suddenly other AI models started catching up and even giving it some real competition. We saw models like Anthropic's Claude, Google's Gemini, and even xAI's Grok really stepping up their game. And that meant that for the first time in a while, ChatGPT wasn't the only star of the show. So the landscape became a lot more diverse, and users had more choices. It was a moment because it showed that the field of AI was maturing and becoming more competitive, which is great for innovation overall.
Yeah, thank you, Senko. So definitely, Gemini and Claude are now recognized as big competitors of ChatGPT, surpassing it on some areas, not others. And Grok, who we didn't take too seriously a while ago, is also making a huge step towards that. What other models are there that are worth mentioning?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. So, alongside Gemini and Claude becoming major players and Grok making big strides, we also have other models that are definitely worth mentioning. For example, there's Meta's Llama, which has carved out a niche in the open weight, more customizable AI space. And there's Quen from Alibaba, which has been gaining traction as well, particularly in certain markets. So it's really a richer and more diverse field now. And that's great for everyone because it means new innovation and more options for users. So we're really seeing the AI landscape become a lot more balanced and competitive, which is an exciting development.
Thank you, Sayanko. So I think you mentioned, which one did you mention now? Llama and Quen, right?
Yes, that's right, Sayanku. I mentioned Llama from Meta and Quen from Alibaba. Those are two of the notable models that have also made a mark in this evolving AI landscape. They add to the diversity of strong players that are now out there alongside Gemini, Claude, and Gawk. So it's definitely a more vibrant and competitive field than it was just a short while ago.
Thank you. And then there's also, for example, DeepSeek.
Absolutely. And let's not forget DeepSeek as well. They're another noteworthy player that's been making waves. So, yes, with Llama, Quen, DeepSeek, and all the others, we've really got a whole ecosystem of capable AI models now. It's no longer just a one horse race, and that's a really exciting development for the whole field.
Yes, and well, yes, most of these are American except for Quen and DeepSeek that are Chinese. And of course, there's also one European, the French Mistral.
Exactly. So it's becoming not just a diverse field in terms of capability, but also in terms of geography. Like you said, we've got a mix of American leaders like OpenAI and Anthropic, strong European representation with Mistral in France, and then major players from China like Quen and DeepSeek. So it's really a global landscape now, and that variety is helping to drive innovation from all corners of the world. It's definitely an exciting time for AI.
Awesome, thank you, Sayanko. So, yes, is there anything else you would like to add?
You're very welcome, Sayanku. I think we've covered the big highlights really well. We've gone through the amazement, the rise of agents, the companionship aspect, the wave of hype and disillusionment, and finally the new competitive landscape. So I think we've got a really nice, well-rounded recap. But if there's nothing else specific, I'd say we're all set. It's been a great conversation, and I'm glad we could do this together.
Awesome, thank you. It was a pleasure, Sayanko. And of course, most of these things we talked about, we made more videos that people can watch if you wanna dive deeper into this. So, yes, thank you all for watching, and we hope you liked it and learned something. Please like and subscribe. Please leave comments what you like, what you didn't like, and what should we talk about next. So again, thank you very much for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you later.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this recap of 2025 in AI. And like Oli said, if you want to dive deeper into any of these topics, we've got plenty more videos for you to check out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and definitely leave us a comment with your thoughts or what you'd like to hear about next. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thanks so much, and take care.